Some strangers don't knock on your door. They walk straight into your life with blessings, sweet words, and a smile you never see coming. Maria Reyes thought she was flying toward love. A simple 4-hour trip from Sydney to Singapore. A weekend filled with promises, soft messages, and a man who spoke like he'd been sent from heaven. But 72 hours later, she opened her eyes on a cold, budget hotel floor. Her heartbeat slow. Her breath shaky, and a fresh cut across her abdomen. One kidney missing yet. Before we go any further, I want you to think about this. What warning sign did she miss? Because you're about to see each one. And here's the twist. Maria wasn't the easy target her attacker imagined. She was awake enough to piece together fragments of the night. Clues he thought she wouldn't notice. Clues I need you to help me connect. Before that flight to Singapore, before the hotel floor, before the missing kidney, there was Maria Reyes, 28 years old, Filipino, 6 years into her life in Sydney. By day, she worked inside a busy hospital as a medical billing coordinator, organized, reliable, the one everyone trusted to fix errors no one else wanted to touch. By night, she returned to a small apartment that held the quiet a little too well. Maria wasn't struggling. She paid her bills on time, sent money to Manila every month, and carried the pride of being the daughter who made it. Her mother relied on her. Her siblings looked up to her, and she never complained, not even when she was exhausted. She was the strong one. But strength doesn't fill silence. Most evenings, her routine unfolded the same way. She cooked simple meals she learned from home. Garlic rice, sautéed vegetables, a little fried fish when she missed her mother's Sunday lunch. Then came the late-night FaceTime calls because Manila's mornings meant Sydney's evenings. She smiled through the screen. Even when her eyes were heavy, updating her family on work, laughing at her siblings' jokes, hiding the tiredness only mothers can detect. And when the calls ended, the apartment felt bigger. She scrolled through her phone. Engagement photos, baby showers, wedding invitations from friends who used to sit beside her at youth gatherings. They were building homes, building families. She was building resilience. Her last relationship, 3 years gone, still stung. In places she rarely admitted. The man loved her, but his family didn't. She remembered the quiet tension during dinners, the comments said with polite smiles, the subtle reminders that she didn't fit. No argument, no scandal. Just a slow fading until she walked away, choosing her dignity over a future built on someone else's doubt. So she lived in between worlds. Filipino enough to crave home. Australian enough to know she'd changed. Belonging to both, but claimed by neither. Maria wasn't desperate. She wasn't looking for rescue. She wasn't weak. She was simply human. And loneliness, real quiet. Loneliness doesn't announce itself. It settles in gently. It waits in the moments after the call ends. The meal cools. The lights dim. That's where he found her. Maria's turning point didn't come from a dramatic decision. It started with a push from a cousin's wedding. Another reminder that everyone her age seemed to be pairing off while she stayed politely seated at the singles table. A week later, she downloaded Christian Match Asia. Safe. Faith-based, community-focused, or so she believed. That's where she met him. Vincent Tan, 35, Singaporean, a medical equipment distributor, successful. Well-spoken, clean-cut. His profile looked polished but not flashy. 3. professional photos, a business casual smile, and a scripture quote from Proverbs 31 about a virtuous woman. The kind of verse that made her pause. His background felt like a mirror, half Chinese, half Malay, navigating multiple cultures the way she juggled her own. And his first message wasn't a lazy greeting. It was warm, thoughtful, personal. He asked about her family in Manila, her Sunday church routine, her dreams of bringing her siblings to Australia someday. For the first time in years, she felt seen. Their chats stretched from minutes to hours. Soon they were video calling. He showed her his apartment in Singapore, a tidy space with soft lighting and a grey sofa that looked untouched. He introduced her to his cat, Solomon, who wandered across the camera with the head tilt only cats can pull off. Vincent laughed in a way that seemed genuine, easy, comforting. On her birthday, flowers arrived at her hospital office. White leaves mixed with soft pink roses. The card read, "Distance is temporary. Our future is forever." Those words stayed with her long after the scent faded. 6 weeks in, he said the line that shifted everything. "Singapore is just a short flight. Let me show you where we could build our life together." It felt bold yet gentle, sudden yet carefully worded. She imagined walking through Marina Bay with him, meeting the cat in person, seeing the life he described. But let's pause here. Look closely because this is where the red flags hide. He never wanted to video call with her family. Always the same explanation. "I want to meet them properly in person first. Impressions matter." He asked her strangely detailed health questions, things no casual partner should need. Blood type, past surgeries, any history of fainting or allergies. He framed it as planning for the future, being responsible, and whenever she suggested he visit Sydney first, he dodged it with a smile. "My work schedule is unpredictable, but I've already blocked time off for when you come." Every red flag looked harmless when wrapped in scripture and carefully chosen words. Every warning sign felt like overthinking when he spoke to the part of her that longed to be chosen. The moment came quietly. No big sign, no dramatic push, just Maria sitting on the edge of her bed, staring at a flight booking page. A long weekend, Thursday to Monday, for days that could change everything or nothing at all. Vincent offered to pay half the fare, but she refused. She wanted to show she wasn't someone looking for handouts. She wanted this to feel like a choice, her choice. But when it came time to tell people where she was going, the truth suddenly felt too fragile to expose. To her family in Manila, she mentioned a work conference. Safe, believable, something that wouldn't spark questions or excitement. To her roommate, she said she was visiting a friend. Casual, easy. Online, she posted old photos, beach pictures from last year, a brunch shot from months ago. Enough to make anyone think she was still in Sydney the whole weekend. Then she packed conservative outfits, soft blouses, long skirts, jeans without rips. She wanted to look respectful, steady, like someone a future mother-in-law might approve of. She tucked her passport into her handbag, saved Vincent's address in her phone, screenshotted their messages just in case the app glitched, and then came the moment that split her life in two. Her finger hovered over the confirm booking button. Something inside her whispered, this might be recklessness. But another voice stronger, aching for something real, said, this is courage. This is faith. This is what people do when they stop waiting for life to happen. She clicked. Just like that, the countdown began. She didn't know she had just paid for a weekend that would end with a missing organ and a scar she would carry for the rest of her life. At the airport, she walked through the terminal with a nervous smile, the hum of travelers swirling around her. She boarded her flight, heart fluttering with hope and fear mixed in one breath. And as the plane lifted off the runway, everything she thought she knew about safety, trust, and love was already slipping out of reach. Maria touched down at Changi Airport on Thursday at exactly 2:30 p.m. The moment she stepped out of the jet bridge, the humidity wrapped around her like a thick blanket, warm, heavy, unexpected. Singapore felt alive in a way Sydney didn't. Voices layered over each other, English mixing with Mandarin, Malay flowing beside Tamil. It felt familiar and foreign at the same time. And then she saw him. Vincent stood near the arrivals exit, holding a bouquet of orchids, the national flower. A soft, careful choice, not roses, not something flashy. Orchids, thoughtful, and he looked exactly like the man in the photos. Same neatly styled hair, same gentle eyes, same half-smile she'd memorized on video calls. Relief washed over her so fast her knees felt weak. He pulled her into a warm hug, steady, welcoming, like someone who'd been waiting for her for months. "You made it," he said. And for a moment, every doubt she'd carried dissolved. The drive from Changi to the Geylang district ran past clean streets, bright signs, and rows of shoppes painted in soft pastels. He explained, Gang was an Yupan coming area with a growing community of young professionals. His tone made it sound perfectly normal. His apartment was exactly what she had seen on their video calls. Simple, tidy, quiet. A small living room, a narrow hallway, and a guest room. He pointed to immediately. "I want you to feel comfortable," he said. "No pressure, no assumptions." Another wave of reassurance. Hungry from the flight, they walked to a nearby hawker center. The air was thick with aromas, garlic, frying noodles, grilled meats, spices. Vincent ordered pancit and lumpia without hesitating, surprising her. "I did my research," he joked, and she laughed. The food tasted close to home, and the fact that he remembered her favorites made something loosen in her chest. Their conversation moved effortlessly. He asked about her siblings, her mother's shop back in Manila, the choir she once sang in. He shared stories about his late father's strictness, how it shaped him, how he wanted a simple life built on faith and family. Later, as the sun began to fall, he took her to Marina Bay Sands. The sky turned shades of orange and gold, reflecting on the water. Couples strolled around them, children ran along the promenade, and the city glowed with a softness she hadn't expected. Vincent stood beside her, close enough for her to feel his warmth, but not touching. Only when guiding her through crowds did his hand brush lightly against her lower back, a small gesture that sent a quiet shiver through her. It was perfect, almost cinematic, everything she had hoped the weekend would be. And that's why what happens next hits harder than anything she could have imagined. That evening, Vincent suggested they celebrate their first day together with a special dinner. He chose an upscale restaurant tucked inside Chinatown. Soft lighting, polished floors, quiet jazz drifting through the air. It felt like the kind of place you only visited for anniversaries, proposals, or promises meant to last. When the waiter brought the wine list, Maria hesitated. She rarely drank. Vincent smiled and said, "Just one glass. We're celebrating finally meeting." His tone was gentle, almost teasing. She didn't want to seem stiff or overly cautious, so she nodded. "One glass. Just one." They talked about everything. Marriage, family, his dreams. Of settling down with someone who shared his values. He painted a picture she had longed for, a home filled with love. Children running around, a life built slowly and carefully. For the first time in a long time, she felt herself opening up. But 20 minutes after she finished her wine, something shifted. It started with a faint wave of dizziness, light. Almost harmless. Then the room tilted. She blinked hard, thinking maybe she stood up too quickly, but she was still seated. The floor seemed to move beneath her feet. The restaurant's warm lights blurred into streaks, colors melting together, sound stretched out, voices warping, plates clinking like they were underwater. She whispered, I think I need the bathroom. Her legs struggled to cooperate. Each step felt heavy, off balance. She gripped the wall, breathing slowly, trying to steady herself. In the mirror, her reflection stared back with hazy eyes she barely recognized. When she returned to the table, she tried to speak, tried to say something was wrong. Her words tangled together, dropping from her mouth in slurred pieces. Her vision doubled, then tripled. Vincent watched her, calm, still, too still. The warmth he carried all day, drained from his face. His expression didn't show concern. It didn't show panic. It showed nothing. Maria's hand reached toward her phone just inches away. Her fingers brushed the edge, but she couldn't grip it. The table swayed like a moving train. Her chair felt farther from the ground than it should. Her body folded. Her heartbeat thudded loudly in her ears, slow, uneven. The world dimmed around the edges. The last thing she saw was Vincent's face leaning over her, blank, watching. Then everything went black. For the next 52 hours, Maria Reyes disappeared, not from the world, but from her own memory. Her mind went dark. A blackout so complete it erased moments that should have been impossible to forget. She doesn't remember Vincent lifting her from the restaurant chair, her body limp in his arms. She doesn't remember being placed in the back seat of his car, head resting against the window as the city lights stray. She doesn't remember crossing the border into Malaysia. Johor Bahru, where rules blur and clinics operate in cash and shadows. She doesn't remember the room, the metal table, the cold hands, the cut across her abdomen. She doesn't remember the extraction, the stitching, the moment her body lost a piece of itself. She doesn't remember being driven back across the border, left inside a budget hotel in Woodlands, chosen for its silence and distance. For 52 hours. Maria's body endured a nightmare. Her mind refused to record. 52 hours of hands that worked without mercy. 52 hours where every second carved itself deeper into her future. The mind protects what the body cannot survive. So her last memory was Vincent's expression, still empty, watching. And her first memory would be pain. Sunday, 4:47 a.m. Maria's eyes fluttered open to a ceiling she had never seen before. Stained, cracked, yellowed around the edges. The air smelled of disinfectant mixed with something sharp and metallic. Her body felt heavy, as if she'd been dropped from a height. Then the pain hit, a burning, ripping pain along her left side, so strong it forced a sound out of her throat she didn't recognize. She lowered her eyes, and that's when she saw it. A crude bandage stretched across her abdomen. Rough tape, brown. Stains seeping through the center, blood dried and fresh. She was wearing someone else's clothing, a men's oversized t-shirt that hung awkwardly off her shoulder. The bed she expected wasn't there. She was lying on a thin mattress. On the floor. No frame, no sheets. The room was small, dirty, silent, except for distant traffic drifting through thin walls. She tried to sit up. Her muscles refused. Her arms trembled. The pain sharpened, slicing through her breath. Her phone lay face down on the floor beside her. She reached for it with shaking fingers and pulled it close. The screen lit up. Missed calls. Family, roommate, coworkers. Dozens of notifications. Battery 8%. She dialed Vincent. The call didn't ring. A message flashed instantly. Number disconnected. Her pulse hammered in her ears. She tried to piece together the night, the restaurant, the wine, the dizziness, and then nothing. Her eyes drifted to the bandage again. Something had happened. Something violent, something deliberate. Her breaths grew quick and shallow. She forced herself to unlock her phone again and dial emergency services. "Ma'am, I need you to stay calm," the operator said gently. "Tell me where you are." Maria looked around the room wildly, but there was nothing helpful. No brochures. No paperwork. She dragged herself toward the window, each movement stabbing into her side. She pushed the curtain aside. A glowing sign across the street read Hotel 81 Woodlands. Her voice cracked as she repeated the name to the operator. "Stay where you are. Help is coming," they said. It took 11 minutes for the ambulance to arrive. 11 minutes where she lay on that mattress alone, shaking. Feeling every beat of her heart press against the wound. She didn't know what had been taken yet. She just knew something inside her was missing. And the man who promised forever had vanished without a trace. The ambulance rushed Maria through Singapore's quiet pre-dawn streets toward Koo. By the time they wheeled her into the emergency bay, she was burning with fever, her skin clammy, her breath shallow, her pain rising in sharp waves. Dr. Annalie Kapoor, the emergency surgeon on duty, examined the wound first. The moment she pulled back the blood-soaked bandage, her expression tightened. The cut was clean, precise, but the stitching, uneven, rushed, sloppy. Infection was already settling in her. White blood cell count, climbing fast. "Get her a CT scan now. Dr. Capper instructed." Minutes later, Maria was slid into the machine cold table beneath her, worrying noise echoing through her skull. She stared upward, fighting back panic with every breath. Something inside her felt wrong, off, missing, but her mind refused to form the thought fully. When the results came back, Dr. Capper requested a private room. Maria was helped into a chair. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Dr. Capper sat across from her, face still, eyes filled with a heaviness that said the truth would hurt more than the wound itself. "Miss Reyes," she began quietly, "I need to tell you something very difficult." A pause, a breath, then "Your left kidney has been surgically removed." This was not a medical procedure. This was done illegally. At first, the words didn't land. Maria blinked at her, confused. "Missing?" she whispered. "What do you mean missing?" Dr. Capper gently turned the CT images toward her. A hollow space empty where an organ should have been. Maria's world collapsed. She let out a sound, half scream, half sob as she grabbed her side. Tears blurred everything. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't comprehend how someone could take a piece of her while she slept without her consent, without her memory. Nurses rushed in. Dr. Kapoor moved closer, placing a steady hand on Maria's arm. "Listen to me," she said softly. This was deliberate. The incision is skilled. The sutures are not. Whoever did this has medical training, but they did it outside a legitimate facility. Maria shook her head, gasping. How? How did this happen? To me? Dr. Capper's voice stayed calm, unwavering. You were targeted. This is organized. And whoever did this has done it before. Police were called immediately. Maria's wound was reopened, cleaned properly, and stitched with sterile precision. She was placed on antibiotics, pain medication, for fluids. Physically stabilized, but mentally she was shattered. Her body felt incomplete. Her trust felt poisoned. Every memory of Vincent now felt like a knife she hadn't seen until it was too late. She lay in the hospital bed staring at the ceiling above her, wondering how someone could smile at her, talk about faith, talk about family, and then steal a part of her she could never get back. And this was only the beginning. By late afternoon, Maria was wheeled into a quiet interview room inside the hospital. The lights were soft, the walls bare, and a single officer waited at the table. Detective Raman Yusufov. The Singapore Police Force. His expression was steady, professional, but not cold. He carried a notebook, a recorder, and the weight of someone who'd seen too many stories like this. He began gently. Maria, I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. She told him about the dating app, the profile, the messages, the video calls. His cat, the airport, the dinner, the dizziness, waking up on a mattress in a hotel she'd never booked. Detective Raman listened without interrupting, but Maria could see the tension in his jaw growing tighter with each detail. When she finished, he typed the name into his database. Vincent Tan. The screen flooded with results. Over 3,000 men in Singapore with that name. A name so common it was almost camouflage. Then he checked the address Vincent had texted her. It didn't exist. The phone number. A prepaid burner, disconnected hours after she used it. The dating profile. Already deleted. Every trail she thought she had vanished. Maria, he said. Carefully. This man didn't just lie. He erased himself. She swallowed hard. Her heartbeat felt uneven. So he never existed. He existed, Raman replied. Just not under that identity. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. This is part of an organized organ trafficking operation. They move across Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore. We've had 4 similar cases in the past 18 months. Every one of them targeted through dating apps. All foreign women. All tourists. Maria's throat tightened. Those women, did they survive? The detective paused. A long, heavy pause. 2 did, he said quietly. 2 didn't. Her breath caught. She realized then she wasn't just unlucky. She was alive by chance. Detective Raman continued. Without evidence linking the man you met to the surgery, prosecution becomes difficult. They know how to cover their tracks. They've done this many times, but we're going to push this as far as we can. Maria heard what he wasn't saying. The man who smiled at her, cooked for her, held her hand, stole her organ. He might never be caught. And she would carry that truth longer than any scar. Late Monday afternoon, the hospital room was quiet, too. Quiet. Maria lay propped against her pillows, for line in her arm, monitors humming softly beside her. She was exhausted, drained, drifting in and out of sleep. Then her phone rang. An unknown number, Singapore area code. Her stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed to ignore it, but something deeper, cold, sharp, certain, told her to answer. Her fingers trembled as she lifted the phone. Hello. A pause, a breath. Then Vincent's voice, calm, unhurried. You're awake. Good. Maria's entire body turned to ice. Her heartbeat stumbled in her chest. Her voice cracked. Why, she whispered. Why did you do this to me? He didn't sigh. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't even pretend to care. His tone was flat. Emptied of every warmth she'd ever heard from him. Because you were perfect, he said. Right blood type, healthy, and you trusted me completely. Maria's breath hitched. Tears blurred her vision. I flew here because I thought. He cut her off sharp and quick. You thought I loved you, Maria. Love is a transaction. You wanted connection. I needed inventory. We both got what we needed. She choked on a sob. I could have died. Yes, he replied almost casually. But you didn't. Then his voice shifted just slightly. You prayed in your sleep. The Hail Mary. Over and over. The clinic staff heard you. They said it was a bad omen. Silence, thick, suffocating. So, I made the decision to keep you alive, he continued. One kidney instead of two. Maria pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to quiet the sound of her sobbing. Then came the final blow. Consider yourself lucky. She forced out the words through shaking breaths. I'll find you. I swear I'll. No, he said. You won't. A pause. But good luck trying. The line went dead. Maria sat frozen in that hospital bed, phone still pressed to her ear, tears streaking down her cheeks. Her body hurt, her heart hurt more, but something inside her shifted. A decision, a spark. A promise. Vincent was wrong. She would find him, and she would make sure he never touched another woman again. Surviving wasn't enough. Justice would be. For days after the surgery she never consented to. Maria was discharged from the hospital in Singapore. Her body was steadier, but her mind far from it. Each step toward the airport felt heavier than the last. The flight back to Sydney was a blur, crying quietly into the window, flinching every time a man walked past her seat, clutching her side whenever turbulence shook the cabin. When she landed, she finally told her family the truth. Everything. Her mother flew in from Manila the very next day, arriving with tears already streaming down her face. She held Maria so tightly. It hurt, whispering prayers into her hair, mixed with questions Maria couldn't answer. How could this happen? Why didn't you tell us? Why did you go alone? Maria didn't know what to say. Her roommate was just as shaken. Why didn't you tell anyone where you were really going? Maria stared at the floor, unable to explain the mix of pride, shame, and hope that had kept her silent. She attempted to return to work at the hospital, but the moment she stepped inside, the sounds beeping monitors, rolling gurneys, footsteps sent her spiraling. She couldn't focus. Couldn't breathe. Her coworkers noticed instantly. Nights became war zones. Nightmares ripped her awake, sweat-soaked sheets, her hand clutching the scar on her abdomen. Panic attacks. Struck without warning. She couldn't sit in crowded places. Couldn't let male colleagues stand too close. Even walking past strangers on the street made her entire body tense. A therapist finally put names to her unraveling. Severe anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression. She took medical leave. Retreating to her apartment. Days blurred together. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, going over every moment. Every message, every smile Vincent had given her, searching for clues she should have seen, punishing herself for not seeing them. Her family begged her to heal, to release the pain, to let time do its work. But time wasn't helping. Grief twisted into rage. Rage sharpened into drive. And drive hardened into obsession. Maria realized she had only two choices. Let what happened destroy her. Or let it push her forward. She chose the second because Maria wasn't done. Not with her trauma. Not with Vincent. And definitely not with the truth. 3 months after the attack, Maria reached a breaking point, then pushed past it. She sat at her laptop one night, staring at the glow of the screen, and made a decision. No therapist, no family member, no doctor could have predicted. If the police were struggling to find him, she would. She created a new email, then a new one. Then another. Soon, she had 5 different identities, each with carefully crafted photos, backstories, and locations. She built fake dating profiles across Southeast Asia, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, and she started searching. The first hit came faster than she expected. Vincent Tan, 35. Singapore. Same smile, different bio, same scripture quotes. She took screenshots, filed them away. Then she found more. Vincent Lim, Kuala Lumpur. Victor Tan, Jakarta. Vincent Chong, Bangkok. Different names, different cities, different profiles, but the same pattern. Medical sales, Bible verses. Targeting Christian women. Polished photos that felt too perfect. Conversations designed to build trust. Quickly, she started building a database. Dates, locations, photos, chat. Screenshots, cross-reference details. Her laptop became a crime board. Her living room wall covered with printed profiles, arrows, dates, locations, a map of Southeast Asia pinned with red marks where Vincent had operated. But she needed more. So she dug into missing persons reports across the region, public lists, forums, archived news. Anything she could access. That's when she found them. 1. Siti Nurhaliza, 26. Kuala Lumpur. Last seen meeting a man she met on a Christian dating app. 2. Priya Sharma, 29, Singapore, vanished after a weekend trip. No signs of struggle. 3. Lin Win, 31, Ho Chi Minh City. Her car found outside a hotel. She never checked out. 4. 2 unidentified women bodies recovered in Johor. Kidneys missing. 5. Another woman missing in Bangkok. Last text. Meeting him tonight. Different countries. Different women. Different circumstances, but the same signature. Maria leaned closer to her screen, heart pounding. This wasn't one man. This wasn't one attacker. This was a network. Organized, skilled, mobile, and Vincent, whatever his real name was, played a central role. Maria's nights turned into investigations. Her days turned into research. Her grief turned into fuel. She wasn't sleeping. She barely ate. Her hands shook from the constant tension. But each new link she uncovered pulled her deeper into the truth. And she wasn't prepared for what she would Discover next. 7 months into her obsessive search, Maria finally found him again. On a quiet Tuesday night. While scrolling through her fake accounts, one profile froze her cold. Faith Connect, Victor Lim, Kuala Lumpur. The name was different. The photos were slightly edited. Warmer tone, softer shadows, but the eyes were the same. The same scripture quotes, the same gentle smile, the same biography. About faith, family, and building a future with the right woman. And he was active. When Maria clicked into his chat window, she felt her chest tighten. He was already talking to someone. Rina Delgado, 26, Filipina, a nurse working in Dubai. Alone abroad like Maria once was, sending money home like Maria did. Dreaming of finding someone kind. Someone safe. Maria watched their messages unfold over the next 3 weeks. Every line was familiar, too familiar. The careful compliments, the deep questions about childhood and family. The mentions of prayer, faith, destiny, the precise blend of warmth and restraint designed to build trust quickly. Maria read every message with her heart pounding. Then she saw the sentence that nearly made her drop her phone. Why don't you visit me during your vacation? KL is beautiful. I'll show you around. Rina's reply came seconds later. I would love that. I can fly in 2 weeks. Maria's body went numb. She wasn't reading a pattern anymore. She wasn't analyzing old messages or cold cases. She was watching a trap. Being built in real time. A trap she recognized too well. A trap she barely escaped. 14 days. That was all she had. 14 days to stop another woman from waking up in a hotel with her body torn open and her future stolen. Maria stared at the screen, her pulse racing. She had 2 choices. Go to the police and pray they acted fast or try to stop him herself and risk everything. But Maria Reyes was done choosing between either. This time she chose both, and she wasn't going to let paperwork, delays, or excuses be the reason another woman disappeared. Not again. Maria didn't waste a second. The moment she confirmed Rina's identity, she found her social media, Instagram, Facebook, a public nursing forum where Rina posted photos from her shifts in Dubai, smiling, tired, hopeful, exactly the type of woman Vincent preyed on. Maria's hands shook as she typed the first message. Please don't meet Victor Lim. He's not who he says he is. He hurt me. He will hurt you. She hesitated, then attached a photo of her scar, the long jagged reminder running across her abdomen. Minutes passed. No response. She tried again. I'm begging you. He is dangerous. This is not a joke. Another message. Another attempt. Then another. Still nothing. Finally, a notification popped up. Rina has restricted your messages. Maria felt her stomach drop. She tried one last time. A video call request. Rina declined instantly. Then the screen flashed. You have been blocked. Maria stared at it, stunned. Rina thought she was lying or crazy or jealous or an ex trying to sabotage a new relationship. Maria whispered to herself, voice trembling. She thinks I'm the threat. Every warning she sent had pushed Rina further away. Words weren't enough. Please weren't enough. Even the truth wasn't enough. Maria understood the brutal reality. She needed proof. Real proof. Evidence strong enough to force the police to act and strong enough to save Rena's life. Warnings wouldn't stop him. But catching him in the act might. And Maria was running out of time. Maria knew she couldn't do this alone. Not this time. So, she gathered every screenshot, every pattern, every missing person report she'd collected over 7 months and reached out to everyone who might listen. First the Malaysian police, then the Singapore police force, then Interpol. For the first time, doors didn't close on her. Her evidence wasn't dismissed. Her pain wasn't brushed aside. Detective Rahman Yusuf in Singapore reviewed her files and immediately connected her with Inspector Fatima Hassan of the Royal Malaysia Police, a sharp, calm investigator known for handling cross-border crimes. Maria remembered the exact moment their video call began. Inspector Hassan leaned in, eyes narrowing as she scrolled through the files. These profiles, the names, the movements, she murmured. This isn't just one man. This is a pattern. For the first time since Singapore, Maria felt heard. The authorities began piecing together a coordinated plan. Singapore, Malaysia, Interpol. Each agency contributing resources, laying groundwork, identifying where Victor Lim might move next. A sting operation was drafted. Surveillance teams tracking his dating app activity. Plainclothes officers stationed at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Hotel staff briefed and ready to alert authorities. Border checkpoints placed on standby. Border. A tracking team prepared to follow him the moment Rena arrived. And despite every officer telling her to stay out of it, Maria insisted on being there. I know how he works, she said. I know what he looks for. I know what he'll do next. Detective Rahman tried to dissuade her. Inspector Hassan warned her bluntly. If he senses anything unusual, he'll vanish. These men disappear fast. No second chances. Maria didn't back down. Then we make the first one count. They had 10 days. 10 days to plan. 10 days to prepare. 10 days to stop a man who had destroyed lives across 4 countries. And in the silence after the meeting ended, Maria felt a familiar pull in her chest. Not fear, not grief, purpose. This time, she wasn't the victim. She was the warning he never saw coming. On the morning of the operation, Maria boarded a flight to Kuala Lumpur with her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. She wore a dark wig, thick glasses, a loose sweater enough to blend into the airport crowd. She wasn't taking chances. If he saw her too early, the entire operation could collapse. 2:15 p.m. Rena's flight touched down. Undercover officers were already in position, leaning against pillars, pretending to check phones, pushing luggage carts, blending into the stream of travelers. Inspector Fatima Hassan watched everything from a vantage point overlooking the arrivals hall. Then Maria saw him. He stood near the escalators with a bouquet of leaves. Soft, delicate, calculated. His hair was darker now, slightly longer. He wore glasses and a neatly pressed shirt, a different version of the same man, but Maria recognized the posture, the smile, the stillness in his eyes. It was Vincent or Victor or whatever name he would take next. Rena emerged from the crowd smiling, tired, excited. She spotted him. He raised the flowers. They hugged like two people who believed they were meeting destiny. Maria's chest tightened. She swallowed hard, lifted her phone, and sent the signal to Inspector Hassan. Game on. Victor draped An arm around Rena, guiding her gently toward the exit. The same move he used with Maria in Singapore. The same routine, the same pattern. He didn't notice the officers shifting, closing in. Didn't notice the two men matching his pace from behind. Didn't notice the woman in a hijab angle closer to his right side. But he noticed when the officers stopped him just steps from the parking lot. "Victor Lim," one officer said firmly. "You are under arrest for suspected involvement in organ trafficking." Rena froze, eyes wide, breath caught in her throat. Victor's expression went blank, emotionless, just like the night Maria collapsed in the restaurant. Then slowly he lifted his gaze across the distance, across the rows of luggage carts and startled travelers. He saw her Maria. The wig didn't fool him. The glasses didn't matter. His eyes widened, not in anger, not in calculation, but in something she had never seen from him before, fear. Officers pulled his hands behind his back. Rena stumbled backward, trembling. As Inspector Hassan approached to explain gently carefully what she had narrowly escaped, Victor was led away. Surrounded by officers, his calm facade cracking for the first time. And Maria, hidden in the crowd, exhaled the breath she'd been holding for 7 months. For the first time since this nightmare began, the hunter finally looked hunted. Victor's arrest was only the first domino. Within hours, Malaysian and Singaporean authorities launched coordinated raids, moving fast before anyone in the network sensed trouble. The first target was a quiet, nondescript building in Johor Bahru, just minutes from the border where thousands cross every day. From the outside, it looked like a forgotten clinic. Worn signboard, flickering lights, dusty windows. Inside, it was a different story. Police pushed through the doors and found a fully functioning surgical setup. Cold metal tables, anesthesia machines, improvised surgical lights, blood-stained linens, organ transport. Coolers tucked beneath counters, and at the center of it all, Dr. Harish Patel. An unlicensed surgeon operating in secrecy for years. His hands were still gloved when officers entered. Then came the files. Stacks upon stacks, 23 folders lined up neatly in a drawer. Each one containing names, blood types, ages, medical histories, approximate travel dates. Every woman had been chosen carefully, deliberately. Maria's file was there, too. Police raids continued non-stop across Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. Within 48 hours, 3 key accomplices were in custody. Lily Chong, the woman behind the dating profiles, the one who crafted the perfect bait, targeting women of faith, women alone, women searching for connection. Raymond Coe, the logistics handler who arranged transport, moved organs through back channels, and delivered them to wealthy buyers. Dway Sari, the clinic assistant who monitored victims after surgery, ensuring they stayed alive long enough to be disposed of safely. Every one of them played a role. Every one of them had blood on their hands. Authorities uncovered financial records showing that each organ, kidneys, livers, even attempted heart placements sold for between $180,000 to $250,000. The buyers, high net worth individuals. Across Asia and the Middle East, people who didn't want to wait for legal transplant lists, people willing to turn human beings into merchandise. The investigation traced the network's operations back more than 4 years, spanning 6 countries. Maria stood in the KL police headquarters as the evidence rolled in photos, invoices, surgery logs. Each revelation felt like another blow. Her kidney hadn't just been taken, it had been sold. Somewhere. A stranger was living with a part of her inside their body, and they had paid $250,000 for it. And the people who orchestrated it all were finally facing justice. The trial took place in Singapore, where the network had moved money, staged meetings, and funneled victims across borders. Security was tight. Families filled the courtroom, reporters whispered in the aisles. And at the center of it all sat the man who'd stolen lives with the same ease he stole trust. His real identity was finally revealed. Vincent Lau Wei Ming, 38, Malaysian citizen. Multiple aliases, multiple passports. He was charged with everything. The investigation uncovered 7 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of murder, organ trafficking, conspiracy across international borders, fraud, and identity forgery. Operating in unlicensed medical facility through proxy partners and the most chilling piece, the bodies of 3 missing women were recovered in shallow graves in a Johor forest. Their organs removed, their families waiting years for answers they never wanted. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence. Maria's testimony raw, steady, detailed, her medical records, the clinic's files, financial transfers showing payments after each operation, screenshots of dating profiles across 4 countries, Interpol's timeline of his movements, surgeon Dr. Patel's confession about Vincent's role, and then the footage. Grainy but unmistakable. Vincent leading women into the Johor Bahru clinic. Different dates. Different victims, the same routine. The defense tried. They argued he wasn't the surgeon. They argued he wasn't proven to be in the operating room. They argued the women came willingly. They argued the evidence was circumstantial. But every argument collapsed under the weight of the truth. Families of victims took the stand one after another. Their voices cracked. Some couldn't speak at all. A mother fainted while describing the last phone call she received from her daughter. And then it was Maria's turn. She walked to the witness stand, slowly holding her side where the scars still act sometimes. She sat down, lifted her chin, and told the courtroom everything, every message, every lie. Every moment she remembered before the blackout. She looked Vincent straight in the eye as she spoke. He stared back with the same emptiness he showed her in the restaurant. No guilt, no apology, no explanation. He refused to testify, refused to answer a single question. When both sides rested, the jury deliberated for 6 hours. Then the courtroom fell silent as the foreman stood guilty on all counts. The judge delivered the sentence with a voice as steady as stone. The court sentences you, Vincent Lai Ming, to death by hanging. A collective exhale moved through the gallery. Some families cried. Some held each other. Some whispered prayers. Maria didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just nodded once. Slowly, firmly. Justice wasn't closure. It didn't erase the scar. It didn't return what was taken, but it was something. And for the first time since waking in that hotel room, Maria felt the weight shift. Even if just a little, Rina Delgado never forgot what happened at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The flowers, the smile she thought was genuine, the sudden circle of officers. The voice telling her she was in danger she never saw coming. In the months that followed, her life took a direction she never expected. She sat in front of a camera one afternoon, hands trembling, and pressed record. She spoke about the man she thought she was meeting, the messages that felt comforting, the plans she thought were romantic, and the moment everything shattered, the video went viral. That's how her channel, Trust Your Instincts, was born. A space where she shared warning signs, red flags, and stories from women who nearly walked into the same trap she did. She didn't hide the fear in her voice. She didn't pretend she was strong from the start. She simply told the truth. Dating apps reached out next. First, small platforms, then major ones. She helped push for verified identity badges, mandatory video calls before meeting, behavioral monitoring for suspicious patterns, emergency check-in features when users plan to meet someone new. She even created a support group for survivors of trafficking attempts, online spaces where women could speak without shame, ask questions, share fears, and learn to rebuild trust. And through every interview, every talk, every moment she stood in front of an audience, she always returned to one name. Maria. I was minutes away from being another victim, she said in an interview filmed inside a Manila community center. Maria didn't just save me. She saved every woman who would have come after me. If she hadn't fought, if she hadn't warned authorities, I wouldn't be here today. Her voice cracked as she said it. Rena carried survivor's guilt, but she carried gratitude, too. A gratitude that reshaped her entire future. And just like Maria, she turned her pain into purpose. In the aftermath of the trial, when the reporters drifted away and the courtrooms emptied, Maria was left with something she hadn't felt in a long time. Direction. It didn't erase the pain. It didn't silence the nightmares. But it gave her a place to put them. She founded a nonprofit she named Second Chance Southeast Asia, a lifeline for women who survived trafficking and for those who were still trying to escape it. What began as a small initiative grew quickly, fueled by her story, and the international attention the case received. The organization offered trauma counseling, legal aid for victims who feared coming forward, medical care for those left with injuries like hers, emergency housing, job training programs, a multilingual hotline for women across the region. Maria worked relentlessly, sometimes too hard, her doctors warned. But she didn't know any other way. She partnered with law enforcement agencies in Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, helping them identify trafficking red flags, teaching officers what victims look like in real life, not in textbooks. She pushed for new policies that required stricter regulation of private clinics and tighter monitoring of cross-border patient movement. She volunteered to speak anywhere she was invited, universities, churches, Filipino community groups, women's shelters. She told her story with simple, steady words, never dramatizing, never hiding the truth. Slowly, laws began to shift. Singapore amended several trafficking statutes. Malaysia introduced new digital safety requirements. Regional task forces were formed across ASEAN nations, all sparked in part by Maria's case. She still had scars, physical, emotional, invisible. Some nights she woke up gasping. Some days she couldn't walk into crowded rooms without feeling the world tilt. But she also had purpose. Now, a reason to wake up, a reason to fight. I can't get back what was taken, she told a room full of students during one of her talks. But I can make sure what happened to me saves others, and that is enough for me. Every morning, she touched the scar on her abdomen, not to mourn the kidney she lost, but to honor the woman. She became a survivor. A protector, a force built from pain, rebuilt with purpose. Maria didn't choose what happened to her, but she chose what she became after. Here's where everyone stands today. Vincent Lei Ming, the man who hid behind faith, charm, and 1,000 lies, was executed in 2024 after exhausting every appeal. His final statement contained no apology, no explanation, not even a hint of remorse. Dr. Reyes Patel, the Unlicensed surgeon who turned human bodies into merchandise, is serving a 40-year sentence in a Malaysian maximum security facility. Authorities say he will likely die behind bars. Lily Chang. The architect of the fake dating profiles, Raymond Co., the transporter who moved organs like cargo. Dway Sari. The clinic assistant who monitored victims as they woke up bleeding. All are serving 25 to 30 years across prisons in Malaysia and Singapore. As for the woman Maria fought to save, Rina Delgado rebuilt her life. She married, moved to Canada, and continues her advocacy work through her channel, Trust Your Instincts. Maria Reyes, she never went back to the quiet life she once had. She now runs Second Chance Southeast Asia, her non-profit supporting trafficking survivors across the region. To date, she has helped more than 140 women receive medical care, legal aid, and a safe path forward. And just last year, she published a memoir, her story in her own words, now used in universities and police mice. Detective Rahman Yousaf and Inspector Fatima Hassan were both promoted. Today, they head a regional task force dedicated to dismantling trafficking networks operating across Southeast Asia. And the impact. Since Maria's case broke, coordinated enforcement efforts across ASEAN countries have led to a 23% increase in trafficking-related arrests. But the fight is far from over because an estimated 87,000 people are trafficked every year in Southeast Asia. For organs alone. Maria's story didn't solve everything, but it changed something. And sometimes that's how revolutions start. Maria Reyes boarded a plane to Singapore, searching for connection. Instead, she stepped straight into the hands of a predator. But here's what he never expected. She didn't break. She didn't disappear. She rose. And because she fought back, because she refused to stay silent, the world became just a little safer for women who will never know her name. Before you click away, listen closely. These are online dating safety rules that could save your life. Never travel to meet someone you've only met online. Meet locally first, more than once. Tell someone exactly where you're going. Share your live location. Don't keep secrets out of embarrassment or pride. Trust your instincts. If anything feels off, even a little, listen to that feeling. Be wary of anyone asking detailed health questions early on. That is not normal. Video call multiple times. Verify they are who they claim to be. Never let romance override your safety. Love can wait, your life cannot. Maria lost a kidney, but because she fought, 140 women kept theirs because she refused to drown in her trauma. Rina Delgado is alive because she turned her pain into purpose. Laws changed across Southeast Asia. Your story does not have to end in tragedy. But if you ignore the warning signs, it can. If Maria's story opened your eyes, share it. Share it with your sister, your friend, your daughter, anyone stepping into the world of online dating without understanding the risks. And if you're here with us right now, you're already part of the mission. Subscribe to True Crime Stories. 247, because we don't just tell stories, we save lives through awareness. Hit that notification bell. The next story we cover could protect someone you love. And drop a comment below. Tell us where you're watching from. If you made it all the way to the end, type "stay safe" in the comments so we know you're with us. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, stay safe, and never stop fighting.